Joining us right now is Tom Fitton. He is the president of Judicial Watch. Happy Independence Day, Tom.
Happy Independence Day to you. Thank you. And hello, Amber. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
I was shocked to see Dr. Anthony Fauci face off against Chuck Todd on Meet the Press on Sunday, given the fact that he refuses to actually answer questions of the House Oversight Committee or any congressional committee right now. Tom, what's at the bottom of that?
I don't know. You would think he's the head of the CIA or NSA. He is so able to avoid basic questioning on information that has really changed the world, which is the nature and origin of the Wuhan virus. And, when we talk about the deep state, Dr. Fauci is Exhibit A, someone who is untouchable and has been around forever in D.C. and is being protected in a way that no one else would, who is elected to office by the corrupt media and the political appointees who, during the Trump administration, the protection was unfathomable to me. And we now know why Biden and gang are protecting him.
Chuck Todd could have stepped up, though, in this interview, and he could. But all he had to do was read Judicial Watch at judicialwatch.org, Tom. He would have said, hey, Tom Fitton and his team at Judicial Watch, they've got records showing that under your leadership, the NIAID gave over $800,000 to this lab in Wuhan for back coronavirus research. What's that all about? You've got all that information, Tom. I mean, what would you like to ask Tony?
I'd like to ask why it is, despite, well, first of all, why did he tell Congress it was $600,000 when it was at least $826,000? And secondly, why is it that we see all this email evidence that you and your colleagues were terribly concerned about its origin? It wasn't like they were convinced it came from the lab, but they were worried enough, A, that it came from the lab, and that, B, it was resulted from monies spent by the U.S. taxpayer. Why it is you were so concerned behind the scenes, but publicly you were suggesting otherwise. You weren't necessarily ruling it out, but you made it clear that there was little to no evidence, and you weren't terribly interested in figuring it out in terms of comparing the natural origin versus the lab origin. It's an open question, and frankly, why is it you trust the Chinese so much that their efforts to suppress it don't raise any questions with you as well? But of course, we already know from the documents, other documents we'd received, showing that the WHO wanted early on to go out of its way to praise China in a press release. Fauci approved it, and that when we were investigating the darn virus, the Chinese had set out confidentiality terms that our government official, Fauci's deputy, signed on to.
And by the way,
the Chinese were walling off information from the American people in league with Fauci's agency.
Yeah, and by the way, if you were to question any of this on social media or even suggest that the lab leak theory was a possibility, they would censor you. Twitter and Facebook would remove your posts or flag them. And Judicial Watch has been censored as well, Tom. It looks like the California Secretary of State and Google were conspiring to censor your organization. Tell us about that.
Well, the documents show that it's more than, sometimes when we put out material, it says, well, it looks like this happened. Well, in this case, the emails show
it happened.
That actually did happen. The California Secretary of State's office sent an email, sent emails to all over the place, including YouTube, which is run by Google, and they were specifically concerned about a video featuring me on behalf of Judicial Watch that was talking about election integrity, and specifically a case in which we settled with the California State Secretary of State's office in LA County that required them to remove up to 1.6 million names from the rolls in LA County because the rolls were dirty. And this video was taken down by YouTube as a result of California's intervention. So the big lie is that the censorship is taking place as a result of private activity, and we're not allowed to say anything about it, when in fact it's taking place as a result of the government working hand in glove, and on this case, on election issues, with private entities to suppress information. We were a number one watchdog on this issue. We're expert in the area of election law. We were raising issues about mail-in balloting, raising issues about dirty voting rolls, talking about the security of elections, all hyperfactual. And they were taken down by actors. And one of the actors involved in this was a firm that was also the PR firm or research firm, whatever you want to call it, for the Biden campaign.
Yeah.
So it was an unholy trinity of conspiracy here. You had big tech, the Biden campaign, and state agencies collaborating to go after us. And they censored us. The video you can't watch on YouTube.
And if I remember right, Tom Fitton, that Biden firm actually got a contract from this is a campaign firm working with the Biden campaign, or a media firm, I should say, working with the Biden campaign, and they got a contract from the state of California and the Secretary of State's office. I remember a lot of legislators in Sacramento were screaming bloody murder about that at the time. Sounds to me like you have a lawsuit. I mean, this is direct censorship from the state of California, from the California government telling Google to take down your information. That's government censorship. Forget about corporate censorship, which is already a problem. Are you guys going to, do you think this is actionable?
Well, we're looking at our legal options. Someone else who was censored, and it was uncovered that they were censored through the documents we uncovered, did sue. I think they filed a lawsuit out in California. Okay. So it's not just Judicial Watch that was targeted. Others were targeted. And I tell you, this is election interference. And Donald Trump had a special counsel and Justice Department and FBI investigations targeting him for less.
You're right. And we'll look into your next steps there, Tom. We got to leave it there. But if you do, please let us know. Come on back here. You know you always have a welcome mat here for Judicial Watch. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Tom.